2021 has been the hardest year for me in terms of my mental health. Somehow I managed to make it out of 2020 relatively unscathed. And looking back now, I think it's mostly because my business and my YouTube channel were absolutely blowing up during the early stages of the pandemic. And so even though I was working all of the time and everything else in my life that provided me with meaning and self-worth outside of productivity had completely evaporated, of course, as it did for everyone else. I think that just the adrenaline of how busy I was and how much things were growing kept pushing me through until March/April of 2021, when everything just kind of came crashing in on me. I spent the majority of the spring and summer of this year almost completely unable to work. I was pretty much just focusing on maintenance and not growth, and doing the bare minimum that I possibly could just to keep things going, because I could not find the energy anywhere in myself to do more than just what was necessary to not completely fall apart. At first, I didn't want to admit it, but it became increasingly clear that I was completely burnt out, almost to the point of depression. These things that I used to find joy in, that I used to wake up excited to work on, I started to dread, and I couldn't focus for very long. I would try to sit down and work, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I felt like my tank was completely empty, and all I was doing, trying to start the car over and over again with no success. Months later, I'm now finally feeling the beginnings of my tank filling up again. I have more creativity and energy for my work again. And I think that my journey to recovering from this extreme burnout comes down to a few things that I've been doing lately that I think have really helped me take a turn for the positive. So in this video, I wanted to share the 5 things that I've been doing to help me recover from burnout. And I'm hoping that if you watching this have been experiencing a lack of motivation, creativity, love for the work that you used to really enjoy, then hopefully this list can kind of give you some ideas of where you might be able to start feeling like yourself again. Because I know from experience just how scary it can feel when these things that used to bring you so much joy and that you used to love working on, that you dread and you start to hate them. And you start to think, well, what am I going to do now? Because this is my life, this is my career, this is supposed to be my passion. And what I've started to realize is it's not necessarily that you completely hate what you're doing and you need to change everything. It might just be that you need a break. Imagine that, taking a break. So with that being said, let's get into the 5 things that have been helping me to recover from burnout. Number 1 is taking a break. I honestly think that the biggest thing, like the next 4 things are going to be important, but this first thing is what has allowed me to somewhat become myself again. And that is just slowing down, taking a break, and working less. I am so lucky and privileged that in 2020, as my business was growing, I was able to hire a bunch of really amazing folks to work for my business, Creatorly Media, so that over the past spring and summer, I was able to actually continue to step back and do less hours of work each week, and the business would keep operating. Full transparency, this has meant that I am making less money than I used to. And that's a decision that I made when I hit rock bottom this spring and early summer, where I was like, I can't keep going like this. I might have to quit. I just decided that my mental health and my well-being was more important than making a certain amount of money each month. And so because I'm super lucky and privileged, as I will always say, because I know not everyone has this option, I was able to get my team to take on more work, and I was able to step back more and more to the point where I was able to take some time to recover. And I think that was really hard for me because over the past year, I kind of trained myself to see my worth and how much I was working. And even now still, when in my day-to-day, I focus more on my own YouTube channel, my own Instagram, learning new things, reading, getting outside, I feel a little bit of guilt because I think, oh, I should be working. If I was in a 9 to 5, I'd be working right now. And I'm still trying to let go of that a little bit because I know that that's the thinking that got me to such a terrible spot earlier this year. So I know this might not be advice that applies to everyone, but if you at all can, trying to step back from additional responsibilities that aren't 100% necessary, asking for help, even if that's just in your personal life, or starting to say no to more things at work where you can. That has been the biggest thing that's helped me start to feel like myself again, is not forcing myself into super long work weeks and trying to squeeze myself into this very particular schedule of, X number of hours each day. So yeah, take a break if you at all can. The second thing has been going to therapy. When I was at my lowest point, I finally decided that I should maybe try going to therapy. And it was only through talking to my therapist that I actually started to acknowledge that I was burnt out. Before, I used to think that maybe I just wasn't being efficient enough, or I wasn't focusing on the right things, or I just needed to change my mindset and then I could be happy doing the amount of work that I was. I thought that there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't feeling passionate anymore, or maybe something wrong with the work that me and my team were doing. And through talking to my therapist, I realized, no, I'm just burnt out as shit. So I just really think that if I hadn't sought out therapy, I wouldn't have even really known what steps to take, including taking a break and the other ones I'm going to share with you, if I hadn't talked to my therapist and just realized what was actually going on, that this is burnout. It's not that there's something wrong with you, or that you're not working hard enough, or that you need to pivot and do a different type of work and then you'll just feel excited about it. I realized, no, this is a result of overworking myself to an extreme degree, and I need to take certain actions to be able to recover from this. So for me, that was just really important in acknowledging the problem and then moving forward from that point. The third thing that has helped me on my burnout recovery journey is finding new hobbies. A big part of what led me to my lowest point earlier this year was because, like I was saying earlier, in 2020, all I had to focus on was work. I used to play roller derby, couldn't do that anymore, it was canceled. I used to hang out with my family on a really regular basis. Oh, all of a sudden, I'm not allowed to go see them. I have to just stay in my apartment and work all the time. So I had gotten to this point where the only place that I found my self-worth in was my job. And I think that was probably exacerbated by the fact that I had seen a lot of success in late 2019 and early 2020. And so it felt really good to put a lot of stock into my YouTube channel and my business. But then as that started to just steady out, it's not even like it declined. It just sort of hit this point and stayed steady instead of growing exponentially, then all of a sudden I started to feel like I wasn't good enough. And so I've been trying to slowly reincorporate more things into my life where I can find meaning and self-worth that aren't just my job. So for instance, I've been reading a lot more lately. I go to the library super frequently now, and I love browsing for new books and just diving in to a new world and seeing what I can learn from fiction about storytelling and just about life. More recently, I've started taking some free online courses on Coursera. It's super cool because honestly, there have been times where I felt like it could be fun to go back to school because I loved my university days. I was a huge nerd and I loved going to classes, sitting in lectures and taking notes. And so I can do that for free online on Coursera. I know this sounds like an ad, but it's totally not. I just have gone on there and I've found courses that are offered by actual academic institutions like universities. For instance, right now I'm taking this course called Indigenous Canada that's put on by the University of Alberta. So that's just one example where I'm learning something that is important to me, interesting, I think important for a lot of people to learn about, and it's totally not related to my job or my work. I don't want to just go and learn more about social media marketing and stuff. That's fine, there's a time and place for that, but I'm not looking for job training. I'm just looking for personal development and learning things that are interesting. So that's one course that I'm taking. I'm also taking this course called Magic in the Middle Ages, which I just find fascinating. That one's from the University of Barcelona. So I just think that going out and learning new things just for the sake of learning them, just because you find them interesting, is a really great way to add a new hobby, a new layer of meaning to your life, that has nothing to do with your job performance or how much money you make. Just as you would try to invest in multiple different places to diversify your financial portfolio, I think it's very important to diversify your self-worth by having lots of different hobbies, different parts of your life where you can find meaning and where you can place your identity that's not just your job. Because it's amazing how quickly you can feel shitty about yourself for not making enough money or not working hard enough. So yeah, find hobbies. That's been really, really helpful to me. The fourth thing that has been very life-giving for me, especially in the past couple months, has been regaining my social life. Even though during the pandemic, I did have like a Zoom book club with my friends and I tried to like FaceTime people regularly, we all know that that is like a shadow of a real social life and getting to hang out with people in person. So I think that like the past year and a half has just been a really lonely time for everybody, but something that's really, really helped with my recovery in the past couple months has been that I live in a place where our vaccination rates are very high, things are opening up again. I've been able to hang out with my family, hang out with my friends, and it just feels really, really great to be able to have those social interactions again because I'm an extrovert and it is amazing how draining it can be being stuck in your house for a year and a half. The fifth thing has been very important, but I think is also very challenging if you're a creator, an entrepreneur, just someone who's interested in like working towards something, and that is letting go of goals and just living in the moment. I feel like my entire life I've been working towards the next thing. I remember being super excited to graduate elementary school and go to high school. And then in high school, I remember being just desperate to graduate and go to university. And then near the end of university, I was so ready to not be a student anymore. I just wanted to graduate and start my business. And so I've always been like running to the finish line of whatever the next thing is. I'm a very goal-oriented person, but I realized over the past several months that having these really strict, especially like quantitative goals, was just making me feel really bad about myself. Because I had certain goals for like subscriber count, follower count, revenue that I wasn't really hitting, and I felt like, well, if I just really work harder, then I'll be able to hit them. And the truth is, like, maybe I could have. I do think the goals that I set out were reasonable for myself, and if I would have made different decisions this past year, they probably would have been in reach. But part of my recovery has been letting go of that, letting go of these numbers that I had in mind, and just deciding that my mental health is more important than that. I've been trying to just live in the day-to-day and focus on whatever I'm working on and trying to make it the absolute best version of itself that it can be, and trying not to get too caught up in the big picture, the numbers, the goals, and instead focusing on how can I have a meaningful and happy day today. If you, my friend, are struggling with feeling burnt out, I just want you to know that it's valid. When I started this journey and I hit my rock bottom, I remember talking to my therapist about burnout, if that's a real thing, and I am a lot less dismissive of it now. So just know it's real. It's not a problem with you. You've probably just been working too damn hard in very difficult circumstances. Don't try to just push through it or keep working. Take some time to rest and acknowledge that you've done some hard stuff. And it's okay to be in a difficult place, especially as a creator. It can be so stressful. You can feel like you're never gonna have your creativity or your energy back. And I can tell you that it does come back eventually. You'll start to feel it, just like little flowers bursting through the snow at the beginning of spring. You will come back to yourself again. It just takes time and it takes rest. So remember to not quit, but to take a break. As always, I hope that you're having adventures and following your dreams and taking a break when you need it. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.